Good day, my friends. Good day and good evening, let me say, to this, the Tuesday night version of this thing of ours. I welcome you. I'll give you a hearty hello and a high o silver. And as we always begin the benediction, we always remind you that it is now 140 days until the election. And we are in the process of having Joe Biden removed with more and more evidence unraveling regarding Gavin Newsom. We always predicted Gretchen Whitmer, who's in the background. They love her. She's a big fundraiser fave. Well, wait till that one. We have one of the best shows for you tonight. I pulled together a series of clips and vignettes and references, the likes of which, including, I got it, the great Les Patterson appearance on the Great Parkinson Show. My favorite Australian, the greatest character actor. Forget Borat, forget any of those. Les Patterson, who is the other version of Dame Edna. This is Barry Humphries. This is his Australian. So phenomenally great. So get ready. First, let me ask you, as we normally do, as I do every single night, please, I remind you, dear friends, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you are subscribed. Please, please, please be subscribed to that which is going on. And also make sure that you do a couple of things, which is very important. Make sure that in addition to everything that we have said, that specifically that we have said, make sure that you are subscribed, of course, as I said repeatedly, to the point of redundancy. But first, before we begin this critical word from our great sponsor at Virtual VPN, and the best VPN deal there is. Do you remember a while back the world's most famous celebrities and billionaires were outraged because the internet used apps to stalk their flight routes of their private jets? Remember that? And with these apps, anyone could track the celebrities' flight routes nearly in real time. But new legislation by Congress, of course, has made that illegal, allowing the rich and famous to anonymize their jet flight and make it impossible to track them. Well, unfortunately, when regular citizens like you and me complain about our privacy, the government does nothing about it. That's why I protect my personal data with today's sponsor, Virtual Shield, and I absolutely love the security I get with them. Virtual Shield helps protect my private information, browsing history, and internet activity from cyber criminals, hackers, tech corporations, ISPs, and more. It only takes 2 clicks on my laptop or phone to protect me with their flagship tools like Virtual Shield's VPN, which features anonymous browsing, ad blocking, a strict no-log policy, military-grade encryption, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited devices, and much, much more. Thanks again to Virtual Shield for sponsoring Lionel Nation, and be sure to sign up by visiting virtualshield.com/Lionel, or simply click the link in the description below, because every sign up with that link gets you up to 67% off and a 60-day risk-free trial. All right, dear friends, let me remind you, tomorrow is, of course, Juneteenth, and I would venture to say right now that you have literally and virtually no idea what Juneteenth is. I will bet you most people have no idea of what Juneteenth is. And for reasons that I think are important, because, frankly, it was it came out of the middle of the night, I guess, and it means nothing. That's how I did nothing. I don't know. I believe it's when folks in certain cities or towns found out that slavery was over, or something to that effect. You know what I mean? Fine. No, listen, no problem. What are we going to do? God forbid. I have no idea in any event. So, dear friends, let us begin. One of the things which is very important is that, as you know, there's so much news information, and there are very few people doing what I do for you, and that is to provide you with a compendium of a variety of pieces of information, a compendium, a veritable pastiche, a mosaic, a myriad, a cornucopia, a mélange, a quilt, so to speak, of a variety of incredibly important aspects and things for your perusal and review. And I provide also for you the following, which is very, very critical, is your chance to edify yourself by taking this all in a particular presentation that is without peer. Now, there is a fellow who does one of the most important designations of what is happening. And his name happens to be Jim Brewer. And in one of these very, very funny moments, he's very good in terms of making funny faces. He's very, very good at funny faces. And this is Mr. Brewer's version of the virtual intellectual and cognitive calamity that Mr. Biden is suffering as we speak.
This is not politics. This is regular conversation. I've yet to meet. I absolutely adore this human being. Does anyone have a bumper sticker? I heart Joe. Anyone? No, you don't. No, you don't. This can't be real, what's going on. I don't even think that's a real human being. I call me a conspiracy theorist. Maybe it is. I don't think it's him. I think it's a mask. I don't know. I just can't see. You can't. I mean, when he read something and he reads pause.
4 more years. Pause.
It says it best, my friends. It says it best. Now, before we get into the heavy stuff, I promised you something this morning, and I couldn't get my hands on it fast enough. But I have watched this. I will start off with something like just something comical. One of the best renditions of, because we had mentioned Australia, and I love the Australian voice, and I love the Aussie mentality. I love the Aussies. They're wonderful. They're from Oz, as we say. And they're wonderful people and wonderful. It's terrific. Anyway, there was a character named Les Patterson, who is defined as the cultural, whatever it is, but it is a takeoff of every stereotype of Australia. I think he's Australian himself, but everything. He is this sot. He spits, he salivates, he has terrible teeth. These are all prosthetic, of course. He has this gargantuan, shall we say, prosthetic appendage in his pants that people are just horrified. He goes for, he's never abjectly filthy, but he is wonderful. This was the best appearance. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but this is his appearance on Michael Parkinson, the Great Parky Show. This is when I fell in love with him.
Tonight, he's one of the most celebrated Australian statesmen of modern times. He started his career as the entertainment officer at a club in Sydney and has risen to the heights of being the Australian cultural attaché to the court of St. James. I couldn't agree more with the critic who said that he impugns the fundamental refinement of the Australian character. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Les Patterson.
Here we go.
Beautiful. Good luck to you. And hello there, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, before I forget, Les always has, I don't want to remember this. He normally has something in his hand like Vaseline or something. So Michael Parkinson's, when he shakes his hand, watch Parky's face.
Beautiful. Good luck to you. And hello there, ladies and gentlemen.
I must do a handful of Vaseline.
something. How are you feeling?
I'm not feeling too bad.
Oh, dear. Of course, images.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
What is it I've got in my hands?
Oh, it's an ointment I'm supposed to use. I was just giving myself a quick application before the shower. I'm supposed to use an applicator, but I generally do. No worries.
So, yeah. Now let's talk.
You'll be all right on your next trip to the Philippines, mate.
There we go. Anyway, just if you get a chance, Les Patterson, great. So well done. So it is absolute brilliant. Now, in no particular order, and that's why you will love tonight's show, because it is a veritable cacophony, a completely desultory, elliptical, disconnected, again, a melange, a potpourri. Think of it as a Jell-O salad. Think about each of these news pieces, these news bits, as a bit of marshmallow floating in a green gelatin suspension. That's exactly what this is, because I know how much that means to you, and I know how much you'll love it. But here's some great news. There was a story. Did you hear the fellow that they caught from Ecuador? This man who allegedly let me see if I can say this for YouTube purposes. A group of New Yorkers who recognized the suspect in a horrific incident involving a 13-year-old took him down and held him until police arrived at about 1 a.m. This morning. Christian Giovanni Ingalandi, a 25-year-old from Ecuador, entered the country illegally in 2021 near Eagle Pass, Texas, according to police. He racked up an arrest in Texas and a handful of infractions in New York City before police say he cornered a pair of 13-year-olds in a Queens park, forced them into the woods at knife point, tied their wrists together with shoelaces, and did a horrible thing to one of them. He allegedly stole their phones and told them to stay put for 20 minutes as he fled. With the help from the victims, police put out a sketch of the suspect. Then a local resident spotted him on a surveillance video, which the police had released. A group of men at a deli in nearby Corona recognized him and pounced. Then they held him until the police arrived. And there's a question of, everybody knew we were looking for him. But the question is, there was a reference to a $10,000 reward. So people were saying, where's my 10,000? Now, this is very difficult to see. See if we can do this. Again, this is not for, there's nothing really bad here, but just to let you know, kids are out and about. Let them leave the room. This is the news. This is what everybody is saying. This is what everybody is talking about. And this, of course, was caught by virtue of this new sensation called the cell phone. There he is.
Coro live. ¿Dónde tú te vas? ¿Dónde tú te vas?
She is, let me translate. Shame on you. Shame on you.
¿A dónde tú te vas? Aquí voy a esperar. Oh, okay. 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 ¿A dónde tú te vas?
Imagine that voice in your ear for long periods of time in a cross-country trip in a Mini Cooper.
He a rapist. He don't care. He don't care that he hit the third. He right there. He right there. He hiding because we beat his.
Now this is.
Yeah. Citizen app, baby. Thank you. Yeah, we beat y'all job for you. He's right there. Look at him right there. We beat his ass.
Where my 10,000? Where my
And there he
we beat
is.
his ass.
And he's actually.
Beat his ass. Beat his ass.
Now, let me tell you something, my friend. Do we still have the Citizen app? I used to love my Citizen app. It was always telling me like, oh my God, there's a robbery. It was really freaking you out because it was just constantly going off. My dear friends, this wonderful called vigilantism. A terrible word. But the emphasis is the word vigilant, to be, from a citizen's point of view, vigilant. And these great, great folks were vigilant. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that something? Don't you, let me explain something to you. I don't care what the reason is. People are going to say, oh, you're always going to fight. It's to get the money. I don't care. I don't care what it is. We spend money. Let me see if I can explain this. Our city pays for things that I will never understand. Whatever liaisons. I don't even know what this stuff is. I would want to turn the entire, to make New York City, or any city for that matter, the last place where we don't pay them, ladies and gentlemen, we deputize them. Deputize. Do you think finding an individual like this is worth $10,000? Do you? Do you think so? Do you think this is worth $10,000? What they did to those two girls, one in particular, but both, the terror to prevent this form of human vermin from perambulating and locomoting about. Does that make it? Do you think that's money well spent? I do. Let's have a list. Let's have bounty hunters. Let's just go out and look for them. What do you say? So all of the bad people will leave. I think that's a great idea. I think that is a great idea. Now, this next particular piece is going to make one of our family members very upset. And as you know, I'm telling you that despite what some people may think in this country, and what your friends may think, and what others may believe, there are folks, dear friends, who are absolutely, positively, the only thing they can think of was what's happening regarding Israel and Palestine and the like. I have friends who don't know what to do. I had somebody the other day suggest that, because I thought it was interesting that Candace Owens happened to be on with Brianna Joy Gray, and both of them were discussing a similar feeling, similar thoughts regarding what was going on in Palestine and the like, that somehow I'm demented, that I should say, don't you understand what Candace Owens said? Yes, I understand what she said. It's friends of mine who look at me and they say, what are you doing? There's no other way to look at this. There is no other way of looking at this. There is nothing. There are bad people. And by the way, there are bad people in the subways attacking people, which are horrible. Attacking people who are Zionists, going after and defacing the homes of Jewish museum directors. I mean, that's ridiculous. That has nothing to do with this. It's a separate issue. It's a separate issue completely. I was against the war in Vietnam. If somebody defaced or, let's say, blew up a police precinct, that has something to do with invalidating my objection to Vietnam. So anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu, this is the one, and I'm telling you, he had more money, received more money from the U.S. Okay, fine. But in this particular piece, instead of saying, thank you very much, we appreciate it, we have a long relationship for years and years, he almost chides, he scolds Blinken and the United States for saying, come on, what took you so long? What are you waiting for? What's going on here? At least that's the interpretation from some. I want you to watch this and ask yourself, Zelensky doesn't do this. Zelensky goes, hey, come on. What is this? What's going? Just go. Come on, man. We got the Russians. I gotta. What do you? What? I gotta put on the T-shirt again. What's with you people? Go. No, he talks like, he does this Zelensky thing, where he puts on the T-shirt and acts like a tough guy. But he's more solicitous, conciliatory. He's more grateful. Listen to this, and please, I'm not trying to put any kind of. I'm telling you what people are thinking. Listen to what Mr. Netanyahu has to say, and tell me your reaction. I'm curious.
When Secretary Blinken was recently here in Israel, we had a candid conversation. I said I deeply appreciated the support the U.S. has given Israel from the beginning of the war. But I also said something else. I said it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Israel, America's closest ally, fighting for its life, fighting against Iran and our other common enemies. Secretary Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. I certainly hope that's the case. It should be the case. During World War II, Churchill told the United States, give us the tools, we'll do the job. And I say, give us the tools and we'll finish the job a lot faster.
Now, let me ask you something very quickly. And by the way, notice the complete asymmetry of the topics, from Les Patterson to Jim Brewer to a suspect in Queens to Prime Minister Netanyahu. What's your take on that? What's your take? What do you think about that? What do you think? Do you think that was okay? Because the internet is going crazy. You never know that in this country. They're saying, what are you talking about? Other people are saying, well, he's absolutely right. Of course he's right. You said you're going to commit, then commit. What are you waiting for? I don't have time to wait for this stuff. Let's go. You're bottlenecking. You're hitting the brakes. What's going on here? What do you think? What do you think about this? I find this fascinating. Do you hear me? Absolutely fascinating. This is the thing which is really interesting. And we're going to have to be asking ourselves this question. And I mean this with all my heart. Do you really want Iran as an enemy? Is it? I mean, do you know the history of this? Ask yourself this. What's our beef with them? What's our beef with Iran? You want to involve also Hezbollah in Lebanon? You want the Houthis to kick in? How many enemies do we need? What is in it for us? It's a very simple question. Explain this to me. Explain how we need to be involved in wars with more wars. What do the Ukrainian people have to do with this? What's going on here? Now, the good news is, remember what happened, what Iran did. And I know there are people, who was it? Oh, you know who's always good for the take? James Woods. He's a very, very, he's a very smart man, the actor, but no nuance, very cut and dry, very specific, very, 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 very specific. And he referenced these terrible photos, not photos, videos of a woman being thrown into one of these morality vans or whatever they're called. And it's like, this is awful. And they also have this thing called pink washing. You heard about this? Pink washing. These are incredibly important topics, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to talk about. There he is. I knew he'd have something to say. Sparky says, Bibi's blue tie matches Israel's flag. Coincidence? You know what? Remember that great song, Sparky? You probably don't. It was Guy Marks. Your red dress matches your eyes. You close your cover before striking. Father had the shipfitter blues. Loving you has made me bananas. Oh, you remember that one? One of my favorite songs, Guy Marks, whose routine of Humphrey Bogart and Gary Cooper doing Indian stuff. It is just, I'll play that one day for you. One of my favorites. So what do you think about that, my friends? Ah, yes, Iran. Bad people, aren't they? What's our beef with Iran? Remember in 1953, was it? Mossadegh, the Shah. Well, they got us back. Let me just tell you what's going on. Let me just explain something. This is, to use the Mearsheimer term, this is just realism. That's all it is. I'm telling you the way it is. We're not going to spend too much time, but you better listen to me and you better listen good. And ask yourself the question, how many enemies does the United States need? Or are these people going to be existential enemies no matter what? You decide. You decide. What I want is I want to stop having, and we have enough enemies. That's what I think. Do you understand that? Now, as you know, during the course of our piece right here, during our thing, our friend Karine Jean-Pierre said that cheap fakes, probably Russia no less, cheap fakes were involved in the production of these fictive and fictional ersatz and camouflaged counterfeit and fugazi, these things of Biden walking around aimlessly. He never did that. That never happened with him the other day in L.A. with Obama and Jimmy Kimmel. No, he doesn't. He doesn't walk around. He doesn't stare off into space. To remind you of what Ms. Jean-Pierre said.
You're especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the
Now, by the way, just as a second, I am fascinated by AMSLAN, American Sign Language. I love it, but I love not just the work with the fingers and that. I love the way the face complies with, and he, Joe Biden was, I mean, he doesn't do that, but they will use words and they will use expressions that comport and comply and seem to follow the particular storyline of what we're doing. Watch this very talented woman's. I don't know what she's saying, but watch her expression and how it matches what's being said.
White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video.
Look at this face.
And that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith. And some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation.
Look at her.
And so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. I'll quote the Washington Post, what they wrote. They wrote about this, and
she is fantastic. Are you catching the look and the disgust and the animation, the expression?
Said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attack the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across
This is the oddest thing. I am so sorry. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me here? Want to make sure. Can you hear me? Good. We just lost my internet, as it were. Can you hear me? Yes or no? Can you hear me? Give me a nice give me a 5 by 5. Let me know. Can you hear me? Yes, good, good, good. All of a sudden, it just said, do I fear you? Very good. Now, I wanted to bring this one up to you, and I hope this doesn't happen again. There we go. Sparky says, fun fact, James was likely the father of at least one of Jodie Foster's children. Belated Happy Father's Day to James. I did not know that. Kind of like a David Crosby thing, as it were. Now, let me see if I can bring something to your attention. This is, to me, let me see if I can get this, because I wanted very much to keep in contact or to show you, in addition to what we're doing here regarding Amaslan, because there were some controversies that you probably knew nothing about involving these things. But before we begin, let me take this commercial interruption to explain to you a very critical part from one of my favorite sponsors, one of our originals. It deals with a subject called emergency food and how to prevent, oh yes, starvation. It's no longer a question of if something catastrophic is coming, it's when. Now, what are you going to be doing about it to prepare now? Your first step is going to my website, preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. And for a limited time, enjoy their special partner offer. Take $50 off a 4-week or $100 off a 3-month emergency food supply. You decide, but act now. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you and your family prepare. They've helped over 2 million families already, and they're simply the best. These 4-week starter kits provide over 2,000 calories every day, 16 varieties, 25-year shelf life, breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, everything, you name it. And they're sealed inside 2 rugged waterproof buckets and over 31 pounds of food. But the best deal, what I recommend, is the 3-month supply. But anyway, it's your choice, but act now. Take advantage now, and preparewithlionel.com is where you should go. Preparewithlionel.com. Now, my friends, during this course, as I was studying today and just mesmerized by Amaslan, American Sign Language, and the like, believe it or not, there were some instances, sorry for the choppiness, because when this goes blank, you lose all of your prepared and saved clips. But this is one that was really interesting to me. This was a case from a murder suspect from the Tampa Police Department, when all of a sudden they had a translator who didn't know anything about it. And the person who hired her apparently didn't know what she was and wasn't doing. And I'm sorry to say, but this was, I found, hysterically funny.
Happened again. Another sign language interpreter accused of signing total gibberish. This time it was at the police news conference announcing an arrest in the Tampa serial killings.
We will be charging 4 counts of first-degree murder.
Standing off to the side, apparently translating every word, this woman.
We received over 5,000 tips in this case.
But it turns out much of what she was signing was nonsense. She waved her arms around like she was singing Jingle Bells, says one outraged sign language expert. The woman, identified as Derlin Roberts, has a string of arrests for fraud. So how did she come to be translating at last week's high-profile police news conference?
I just didn't ask enough questions.
Tampa Police Public Information Officer Steve
Look at
Hegarty
him
told
walking.
me the
Let's get some
woman
B-roll,
simply showed
Steve.
up out of the blue and offered her services.
My immediate reaction was, I didn't call for a sign language interpreter, but that's great.
But hey,
we have one here.
thanks,
I let her in.
Did this woman appear to know what she was doing?
To the untrained
I
eye, and
guess.
that would include mine, I didn't see any problems.
This
How do
latest
I know?
embarrassment comes 3 months after it was revealed that the sign language interpreter at
Like
her
this.
Hurricane Irma news conference, also in Florida, made no sense.
I know.
The time to act is now.
Hegarty is summing up the latest goof.
We won't be using that woman again.
Cops say this was not a crime, but it was an ethical violation.
I know that's not. I'm sorry. I know. Thank you very much. I know that's not funny. I know that's not funny. But I mean, who Who would think? What are you in for? Well, I'm a fraud. What do you do? Money? No. Bernie Madoff? No. Well, my thing is, I pretend to be a sign language expert, and I can't sign, and that's kind of what I do. That's what you do. That's what you do. Call me wacky. Now you might think to yourself, wait a minute, that doesn't happen that often. Oh, no. In doing my deep dive, the unpacking of this story, I found this fascinating. There was another instance where this happened during the Nelson Mandela Memorial. Dig this.
The newspapers here were full of the embarrassment of the booing of South Africa's President Zuma at yesterday's memorial event in Johannesburg. State television has been accused of deliberately underplaying it. But to add to all this, another revelation. It turns out that the sign language interpreter for deaf people was apparently not signing a single word of what anyone said, from the US President, Mr. Obama, and Mr. Zuma himself, to Mandela's own grandchildren. Indeed, it gets worse. As I've been finding out, he couldn't even form the sign for the word Mandela. Leaders of 5 of the world's most powerful nations and friends spoke movingly of Mandela, but to deaf people across South Africa, their words all seem to be seriously lost in translation.
They were.
I welcome all of you who have traveled from all corners of the world.
To check what the interpreter was in fact signing, we asked a deaf school headmistress what deaf people would have understood of yesterday's event. We started with the words of memorial host Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's see what you think the interpreter is saying.
Watch this. And
we applaud you and thank you for that.
I have no idea.
Nothing at all?
Absolutely nothing.
Not one word?
Nope.
Wow.
So it's just complete rubbish?
Yes. It's like in a spoken language you would say gibberish.
Gibberish.
It's exactly the same as gibberish.
Okay.
Talking nonsense.
You never recognized.
He keeps doing this funny sign, these signs, and there's no linguistic sense there at all.
But this apparently unregistered and so far unnamed sign interpreter has been used by the ANC before, at least twice. Here interpreting for President Zuma, singing at the ANC's 100th birthday last January.
And the deaf community has complained about him previously.
Wow.
And said that he's terrible. But the problem is that the government has ignored those complaints. So the worst thing is that this whole issue could have been avoided if they'd listened previously, because the deaf South Africans have complained. It could have been a little local problem that we could have solved, but now it's become a big global issue.
You are lodged in our memories.
Look at him.
You tower over the world.
Even I know. What is he?
Yesterday, translating for Mandela.
Watch how many words go by, and he doesn't make any movement.
Mandela's granddaughter, the interpreter almost seemed to be looking for the exit.
He looks like Biden, doesn't he? Like, where is he?
Tonight, the deaf community has taken to cyberspace with real versus absurd. The ANC has yet to comment. And an unpleasant postscript to events here in South Africa.
Wait.
Archbishop Tutu's Cape Town home was broken into.
Oh, for God's sake. Doesn't that just, I don't know why that fascinates me. Sparky's fascinated too. Sparky says, Jody got pregnant. Here we go. This is why we love this man. He will start on this, and God love him for this. And you could go an hour, you can go an hour and a half later and says, Jodie Foster actually was born Hortense Leibowitz in Greenville, South Carolina. I didn't know this. Wait a little bit. What was the one there was one time it was this, I think it was somebody, your uncle, or it was fantastic. Anyway, Jodie got pregnant while filming Contact with James. The son looks like James and has his brown eyes. Mel Gibson and his parents have blue eyes. Same with Jodie and her parents, or Mel would be suspect. So are you suggesting, by the way, Sparky, that this was done, dare I say, naturally? Or was this done? Whatever it was. Oh, by the way, one more, and I'll try to find this one for you. Do you remember the fellow Remind me to do it tomorrow. Who was at a BBC, he was a driver. And he shows up at the BBC studios where they have, the regular cameras. And he's just standing on the periphery waiting to either pick somebody up. He's just a driver, but he's inside the actual studio proper. When somebody sees him, waves him, says this way, and they mic him up. They think he's the guest. He's the driver. But he's very nice. I think he's African but he doesn't interrupt. He looks like, and they say, all right, 3, 2, 1. And they say, we're here talking to Sir Lawrence, whatever it is, Heathcliff. Sir Lawrence, what is your thought regarding the internet? And does it pose opportunities for humanity? And he says, well, yes, it is one. Yes, it's very good. And he's kind of looking like, I'm not the guy. It was, I don't know if you saw it, was classic. The next day, he was on every show. I don't know how he's doing right now. But I love when things go wrong. And I love when there's something that's catastrophic. And I never thought, who would have thought, are you sure she can speak sign language? Who's going to lie about that? A number of people. And there you have that. My friends, today it was a veritable, just a cacophony of folks screaming and yelling about what is happening as to Joe Biden. When do you think he gets the boot? When do you think? Question number 1, will he make the debate? Will he make the debate? Will he make the debate? James Carville said, Trump's going to drop out of the debate, which makes no sense. He's going to come. It's going to be like a lights out match. He's going to be pouring out of the back room. When do they bring in Newsom or let's just say Newsom? When? He can't do it. There isn't enough Adderall. There isn't. And the big donors are saying, what are you doing to us? What are you doing to us? And nobody's even considering Kamala. Nobody's even considering her. How did it get to this point? How can some of the smartest people, billionaires in some respects, how did they get to this? How did it get to this point? Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, I have no earthly idea. But it proves wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Another thing, too, I want to go back and I want to discuss. When we talk about this crime business, got to be very, very careful because some people get very upset. Sometimes, as you can tell, and I know many of you who have not been able to post certain things, if you say things and it sounds like you're being too, dare I say, too rhapsodic, perhaps, about people taking matters into their hand, sometimes people take it the wrong way. But let me give you a couple of absolutes and see whether you agree with me. And I'm sure you do. Number 1, and this is critical. Number 1, we do not have to ask permission of a servant for us to act collectively. Let me say this again. We do not have to act or ask the permission of a servant to act collectively. Sparky says, speaking of James Woods, like BB, he went to MIT. I wonder if they know each other. Probably naturally. Even tomboys can be overwhelmed by estrogen. Ooh. Interesting. James Woods is a very interesting man. Great actor. When he played Byron Della Beckwith, it was wonderful. But what he's doing right now is, remember, he came out of the conservative closet, and remember he said one time he was on a plane and saw terrorists or somebody that he suspected of being a terrorist or something along those lines, and was involved somehow in that. Then Hollywood didn't like him, and then I think there was one movie where he was the producer. He was wonderful on Ray Donovan. I think John Voight helped him. And then he went into the, look at me, I'm a poker player. And then he only talked about people he knew in the business, and then he came back into the conservative stuff. It was very, very sad. His genius, he's a very smart man, as you know, is very obvious stuff. No blank obviousness. No blank. Or Valera says, what are the chances they use a Biden double in the debate? It will be hard to clone the gaffes, though. There will be no Biden double. Most probably they will use, and I think even, thank you, by the way. I think our good friend, Mr. Hannity made some reference to it. They would probably use some witch's brew, a concoction, some suspension of Adderall, some stimulant to get him going. Adderall is very, very potent, but it's good for about an hour. And what happens is they're going to have to prep him. They're going to have to prep him. Now, remember one thing. No matter what happens, Trump wins. Okay? They're going to turn his mic off, but you will be able to pick up his mic in the background. So if he says, what is this? I wasn't done yet. This is rigged. Trump could, I hope, destroy it. Absolutely destroy it by virtue of what he says. I think that would be one of the funniest things ever if indeed he could do this. Now, either way, it's going to be a bloodshed. Let me ask you a question. Is there any of you people who feel in the slight, maybe perhaps indistinguishable, maybe imperceptible, but is there any one of you fine people who feels the slightest bit sorry for Joe Biden? Is there any of you, dear friends, who feel the slightest bit sorry, who feel just the slightest bit almost where you wince, where you think, oh no, somebody call it quits? Is there any of you, any of you, any of you? Is it the slightest part, a crevice, an interstice, a crypt, a fold, an area, a channel, a chamber, a molecule of, because you don't want to see someone just beaten like that? Is there any one of you who feels the slightest sense of, and I know you will certainly react to this possibly, who feels the slightest bit of similar empathy and sympathy towards Hillary Clinton? Be honest. Isn't there a part of Hillary Clinton where you say to yourself, this woman has merely wanted to just be in office? And that Senate thing didn't work. The Secretary of State, that was a concession. She's had to sit out twice with Bill when he was governor, then president, then sit out for Barack. And then finally, when she gets to the front, she's clobbered by Donald Trump. Is there not, at long last, have you no humanity for her? You know what? I don't either. I hope that they absolutely, positively crush, figuratively crush Biden. I want them to say, oh my God. I want them for the rest of their life to say, remember what they did to Biden? Remember Dien Bien Phu, the Vietnam catastrophe where the French were just, they said, we don't want another Dien Bien Phu. We don't want that. Am I saying that correctly? Dien Bien Phu? Anyway, the Alamo, so to speak, we don't want that. I want them to remember for the rest of their lives, don't ever do this again. I want them to say, do you remember? I hope that if they have this debate, that when he walks off that stage, he is in a permanent, paralytic, frozen rictus. Rictus is this one, it's a wonderful word, by the way. It's a great word. Let me get the exact definition so that you know it. I love when it's, rictus is a fixed grimace or grin, kind of like the maw. That kind of a grotesque, kind of a contorted freeze frame. Sparky says, make sure Biden religiously uses CPAP up until the debate and hold the debate in the morning for best Biden performance. Interesting. Do you think Joe's on Pervitin? I have no idea. Let's look up and see what Pervitin is. Perv. Interesting. Pervitin. Let's see what Pervitin is. Pervitin is a methamphetamine brand used by German soldiers during World War II. It was dispensed in these tablet containers. Obertrol, a pharmaceutical mixture of amphetamine and methamphetamine salts, was medically indicated and marketed for treating obesity, as illustrated in an advertisement in 1970. No, meth is not good. You don't want him bouncing off the walls, though that might be funny. Adderall, from what people have said, has been the dope and drug of choice. Did you know that? Joy Behar will say, you're right, it's the best. People will absolutely say he's never been better. He was quick. They will say that that Trump was a bully, that Trump was horrible, that Trump was terrible, no matter what happens. But they're going to trounce him. Trump tonight was, and I forget where it was, and he's going and going and going, and nothing stops him. Nothing gets in the way. It is indeed beautiful to see this, to see it. Sparky says, wouldn't mind if Dems slid Hillary in to replace Biden just for the added entertainment. Oh, I don't think so either. I think she is so spooked and so loathed. She is loathed. When she showed up, Sparky, in Broadway the other night, people that we know who were there for the Tonys said that people were, first of all, they couldn't believe this, whatever this thing was, whatever this crazy, I don't know what it was, whatever you want to call it. It was depraved and demented. It was out of control. It was nuts, crazy, out of it was out. It was just out of control, out of control. It was. Trump's got to understand that he must listen to people. I remember one thing, debates don't matter. Nobody cares about debates. It doesn't matter what he says. You remember, maybe you want this one point, and what he's got to do is he's got to memorize the points. And he's got to say, to memorize, here's what he's going to say. Whatever Biden says, he says, that reminds me, just like you did with the crime rate. The crime went up because of this, because you turned your back and you opened the borders. And that's one of the reasons why, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, it's always going to be borders. It's always going to be the same thing over and over again. Gwig says, earlier this year, you predicted Newsom. I bet 5 friends $20 each. When I collect, I will donate to Lynn's Warriors. Thank you. By the way, I had as early as 2022, maybe a little bit earlier, where, and by the way, I didn't just come up with this. I've got people who are on the inside. I didn't just sit there one day and say, I think he'd be a good idea. No. There is so much stuff going on right now. Want to hear some good stuff? Okay, let me give you a good one. Here's one for you. Let me ask you a question. Now, this is entertainment, but it gives you an idea of how these things work. Did you hear about Justin Timberlake? Justin Timberlake was arrested in the Hamptons, I think, for DWI. Okay? Did you hear that one? Okay. I'm going to run something by you, and you tell me what you think of the possibilities of it. Justin Timberlake can't sell tickets anymore. Justin Timberlake thought, I'm just going to pop up again. See, the difference between Justin Timberlake and somebody like Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift never stops. She never, ever stops. She keeps going and going. She knows she can't let you forget about her. Don't you forget about me. Simple Minds. She's smart. She doesn't stop. She takes 1 month off. That's what Jon Stewart did. You lose that gravitational pull. You float out forever untethered. So anyway, he can't sell tickets. Nobody cares. People forget. There's so much entertainment out there, so much stuff. So what happens? What do you think would be the chances of somebody saying, hey, now he goes to rehab and all his friends come forward and he's a great guy and he's in the news. Best of luck, Justin. We got to cancel, the things. I'm sorry about that. Just saying. Does that sound at all important? Does that sound at all? Is that out of the realm of possibility? Let me tell you one more that I think is very interesting. One more. And this is really good because I always love the spin. But before, here's our last critical message. All right, dear friends, it's time yet again to hail and salute our great friends at mypillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know. A free gift. It's a tautology. So sue me. But first, listen. Check out their $25 extravaganzas. Listen to this. Premium MyPillows. King and Queen. MyPillow 2.0. MyPillow bed sheets. The lowest prices ever. Sandals, slides, and slippers. 6-piece towel sets. 4-pack dish towel sets. Simply and absolutely the best. It is unbelievable. So go to mypillow.com/Lionel or call 800-645-4965 and watch how fast Mike answers the phone. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Simply the best. Simply and absolutely the best. Did you happen to hear the story about Howie Mandel? Did you hear about Howie Mandel? Did you hear about Howie Mandel's wife? It's very interesting. Howie Mandel. Well, here's the story. It's very interesting. It says that, for the love of God, stand by here. I just had it right here. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Howie Mandel found his wife in a pool of blood after a tipsy fall in a Las Vegas hotel. And it says Howie Mandel doesn't seem to follow the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. The America's Got Talent judge appeared on an episode of Live with Kelly and Mark. When he told the host about a recent incident or accident his wife experienced in their Las Vegas hotel room after she was a bit tipsy. She headed into the wall, and when she fell and hit the wainscoting, she hit a wainscot is a wainscot. Let me get this. An area of a wooden panel on the lower part of a good for you. The wainscot. When she fell and hit the wainscoting, she hit that as she went down. She slipped and went down and on her eye and then fell. Did you see that picture of her? Mandel says she turned on the light and saw her lying with blood pooling around her head. We could actually see her skull. It opened up. He shared a photo of the accident showing his wife, Terry Mandel, with a gash. Now, I'm sure that happened. Why would I not? But let me ask you a question. Do you think there is any possibility whatsoever that it didn't quite happen like that? Do you think it is at all possible that it didn't happen like that? That maybe something perhaps more embarrassing happened, and that was the story they used. Just saying, I don't know. But when I hear, remember, I believe nothing, especially information that could and would be embarrassing. Again, I'm not saying. Little Columbo here. Johnny Maz, the Spaz, says Colonel Douglas McGregor is just reporting Russian warships in sight of Miami, just outside the outer marker. That's okay. I mean, that's I think they are not warships and nothing really to worry about because they were in Cuba, and. But here's the deal. As you know, Johnny, the point is that we try to explain to the world that one of the reasons why Russia did not want NATO troops outside of their door, outside of where they live, so to speak, was because of the fact that it violated their sense of safety, and to have a NATO country or to be a NATO member on the border. We said, it doesn't really matter. Really? It doesn't matter? Okay. Well, maybe this matters then. Maybe this matters. And maybe the point being that this reminds people of our own, dare I say, our own Monroe Doctrine, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense to you? I think it does. Well, what a night. What a night. You have been absolutely without peer. I'm so sorry for the confusion about that. We lost the internet. I had some great stuff for you tonight. But what a melange. A pastiche, a myriad, a mosaic, a veritable a cornucopia of topics tonight. Do you feel enlightened? Do you feel as though you are imbued with the Holy Spirit of knowledge? I think so. I do. And that's all that it's about. That's all we're about. And I thank you for that. Make sure also, my friends, that you listen to, make sure you follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. Lynn's Warriors. She's got some unbelievably great stuff. Working so incredibly hard at what she does. She makes me so proud. It's not even remotely funny. And why would it be funny in the first place? I don't know why I would even say that. But I would say it's not even funny. So Johnny Maz, Gwig, thank you. Sparko, thank you. Malera, whoa. Cantera, Domenico Medugno. Did you know that was the song that my parents always said was my song, that my mother was rushed to the hospital? They were watching Ed Sullivan or something, and he was singing Volare, and she said, I gotta go. And that's my song. So just to let you know, I like the Gypsy Kings version of that. All right? All right, dear friends, thank you. Thank you immensely. From the bottom of my heart, I send out love and the holy word of truth to you. And you are the reason why God made Oklahoma. Have a great and a glorious day, dear friends. Remember, subscribe to Lionel Nation, and got some new videos coming up, too, that are floating around there for your perusal and review. See you tomorrow at 8 a.m. And until then, remember, my friends, as we always say, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.